Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha with Ice Cream Fitness here. I want to briefly cover for you guys today why I make specifically the protein recommendations that I make in other videos. But hold on, let me give you guys a bicep shot first. Alright, there are a lot of guys out there pointing out to me that there is research showing that in weight training athletes, that they do not seem to exhibit muscle gains in research by going beyond 0.82 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass, while I personally recommend 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. And they point out that the 1 gram per pound of body weight is a bit of a myth for enhanced lifters. And I make even higher recommendations for people cutting. So why do I do that when I am perfectly aware of this data? The reason I do that is, one, to give it a nice round number for people who aren't particularly math savvy, and two, I make it completely idiot proof. Because people will mess up the math. People will miscalculate their lean body mass. People will mismeasure their food. People will oftentimes eat a lot of inferior protein sources to make up some of that, and therefore quantity can make up a little bit for quality. And when those factors all add up, sometimes you will have people who are oftentimes consistently eating 10 or 15 grams of protein below their optimal intake for gaining muscle mass on a clean bulk. And therefore they could be gaining a few ounces less muscle here and there accordingly. So I do that to give you guys a wiggle room in your math, or some wiggle room in the measurements of your food, or so that you have extra protein reserves that you're still digesting and absorbing if something happens and you miss some protein the next day or miss a meal that you needed. So it's there to give you guys leeway, because invariably these things happen. And it's also done because consuming a little more protein over the optimal isn't a negative unless it is financially breaking your bank, because it ultimately just ends up as carbs. So you're just subbing out some of your dietary carbs for this protein. And that's why I make that recommendation for bulking, even though it is above what we know to be the optimal amount. Now, the reason that I make the higher recommendations for cutting, and I tell guys go as high as 1.1 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass, is because there is data coming out by a nutritionist working on his PhD, Eric Helms, who is also a natural pro bodybuilder, that is showing that lean athletes who are in a caloric deficit actually retain muscle mass better when they go this high in their protein intake. So there seems to be data that's going to be coming out here soon that's going to support that. And it's the first data of its kind actually being done in depth on this topic, and it is showing benefits to the higher intake. So it gives you a nice safety margin to go ahead and go with that number just to be safe. And the fact that protein is more satiating, it can have benefits to bump protein intake a little higher on a cut anyways for appetite purposes. Alright guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has clarified my stance and it's been informative, and I will talk to you next time.